Y'all are unmuted.
Welcome to Lunchtime with Dr. Karen Weaver. You may notice that neither of us are Dr. Karen Weaver. So sitting in today during this lunchtime podcast is myself, Jamaica Patrick, and
Tonya Burns.
And so I am so excited to have you here today.
Well, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited about this election.
Yes.
Really excited.
Mm-hmm. So a little over 20 days.
And who's counting? Flint should be counting.
Flint should be counting. Man, we should all be counting. And you know what? I think it's important for people to know that you can go vote now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are really busy schedules, things going on with the kids. You got fall sports happening right now, and different things. So you can vote now. You can go down to City Hall and vote now.
And they can call in to get a absentee ballot.
Oh, you can call and request
You can call to get an application, and they'll send you the application to get you a ballot. So there's still plenty of time. If you don't want to go to the polls, there's still plenty of time.
But we're cutting it close now. So if you get that ballot, if you do your application and you get that ballot, get it in. Don't wait till the last minute to try to mail it because
it won't make
it in time. And you need your vote to count.
We need your vote.
We need your vote.
Flint needs your vote.
Exactly. And I also want to remind people that if you have not voted, never voted, you're not registered to vote, you can vote. You can register and vote at the same time at City Hall. So take those kids who just graduated and those 18-year-olds, take all your 18-year-olds, your 19-year-olds, all of your kids, your little cousins, neighbors who have not voted, take them down to City Hall so that they can register and vote at the same time. Additionally, if you have a felony in the state of Michigan, you can vote. You can vote. So go down there and vote. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Your vote is your voice. That's how we make change happen.
And you're correct. And people need to understand too, this is a big election.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first year that our mayoral election lines up with the governor election, the Senate, the Congress, the state rep.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge judges,
school board, state and local.
Exactly. So it affects your everything,
mm-hmm.
and people need to vote. So yes, we are supporting Dr. Karen Weaver for mayor,
mm-hmm.
but you have, that vote is much more important, than that. And especially if you have children, talk about the school board and the state elections, because all that works together to make Flint a greater Flint.
And I want to remind everybody that even if you vote straight party ticket, you still need to go to the bottom of that ballot and vote for the mayor of your choice, Dr. Karen Weaver. I'm asking you to vote Karen Weaver for mayor, Karen Weaver for mayor. Go to the bottom of that ballot and then flip that ballot over because you'll have some other nonpartisan things. You'll have some proposals like the judges and the proposals. So make your vote count. Make your vote count.
So what are some of the reasons that I have got many reasons why I'm supporting her?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things we've been doing on this particular lunchtime podcast, which I'm gonna say what she says. Mickey, where's our lunch?
We forgot it.
And so once again, I'm drinking coffee for lunch. So we so one of those things that we have this on her platform is crime, which is why I was so excited about having you on, because it's gotten to the point that you're darn near the night. Like something happens and I'm like, because I don't feel like we get good crime information. So I'm calling you with what's happening. I mean, of course I call 911 if I see or hear something, but I'm also calling you. Hey, this is what just happened. I called you. Was it Sunday?
And I lost track. I did talk. Yes, you did. Or was it Saturday?
It was Saturday or Sunday, and I'm like, Tonya, they fighting at
That was Friday. Because there was Friday the shoot at the fight. Then there was Saturday a shooting on Norbert Street, which has been several shootings. And then last night there was a shooting on Prospect Street, homicide. And so when we talk about we were talking about, I literally used to keep track, and I think I stopped keeping track at like 100 and was it like 160 homicides, because that number, and then you had it was children, so you're talking like 9 months old, 11 months old, 2-year old, 3-year old, 5-year old, 9-year old, 12-year old, 15-year olds, a couple of 15-year old, 16-year, which was your friend Deborah, and it's been a couple of 16-year-olds who have been killed.
Because I think your Deborah's son, when he got killed, I think another 16-year-old boy got killed like the following week.
Yeah, you're correct. So when people say, well, there's really nothing you can do, I disagree. And I'm gonna tell you why. A lot of these things, we need programs. We still do not have a public safety plan.
I was gonna say we need a plan.
We need a plan. And there is no plan. So when we look at how people are infusing the plan, because we didn't have a plan. You got Sheriff Chris Swanson infusing Arrowhead, which is his plan. And we're looking at other people coming in and governing because we don't have good governance over the city of Flint. And in the absence of good governance, you allow other people to come in to take over. Wasn't because they didn't know you need a plan.
They know we need a plan.
They need a
Come on
plan.
now. And that's been my thing. I think that's been one of my problems. Is that one of my issues is that when the community is saying that there's something that we need, why don't we have it? Why can't we get one? And that's one of the reasons that I'm so excited that Dr. Weaver is stepped up to the plate and decided to run for mayor again. And I'm so excited about her going back into office because I know that she listens to the community.
Well, she has a plan, and her first 100 days, the top 4 issues are 1, crime. Number 2 is blight. Number 3, economic development. And number 4 is the opioids that she said that has to be addressed. And those are things she has a plan for. And so when you're electing someone, I mean, it's time to stop voting. I went to school with you, or I went to my cousin, baby sister, mama, know you. I mean, it has to be, you have to vote on, why am I voting for this person? Do they have a plan? You know, she had 2 people that she had to distribute Narcan to. You know, one was in her driveway where someone was in her area and the person passed out. Her and Dr. Weaver, well, they're both doctors, both Dr. Weavers attended to that person. Then she had one here, she had one at her campaign office where she had to go over to the fire department.
Outside,
right,
when
outside.
Somebody was out there.
Right, and so she's saying, you know, I see the need, let me address the need. She also brought that 8.8 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even before all of that, she sued Big Farm and got that money for the community. That money didn't come through until after she was out of office, but she sued. She did that and won. And so you would think that we would see more, but every single day, people are passed out, having to get Narcan, dying from this opioid crisis, and it seems like it's only getting worse.
It's getting worse.
And so it's important that you have a plan, and it's important that you have people who are guiding the plan, who are qualified, who are educated. You know, I saw something on and I saw it again. It's probably on my memories. I think I'll go and share it if it's on my memories for today. That talked about, you know, being educated and qualified for different positions. And that was because the current administration had got on the radio. And I talked about this on another one of the podcasts, but just seeing it again, I got on the radio and made these blanket lies about Mayor Weaver's administration not being qualified and educated and all of these types of things that were not true. And the sad part about it is now here we are in 2022 with a mayor in office who lied about education, who lied about qualifications, because when you lie about education, you're lying about qualifications. And so we're in a situation where we have somebody leading our city who either don't know or won't do it correctly, because we're seeing crime skyrocket and we're seeing crime numbers smudged. When you see things like, oh, I've decreased crime. Okay, so if you have 4 apples, I'm just gonna take it back to the apples like when you're in elementary, and I give you 10 apples. I give you 10 more. Now you have 14. And then I take 2 of them. And now I say I decrease the number of apples that I get.
Well,
no.
and even to that, because I deal with facts.
Mhm.
So I went and spent the day at the 911 center,
Mhm.
and I have developed a good relationship with the 911 director and the staff.
Mhm.
I didn't realize we had what they call there was an LOU, letter of understanding. So when you call 911, there are certain calls 911 does not answer to in the city of Flint.
Wow.
They will not respond. So when we talk about, and one of the issues was I had 2 moms who had kids who were special needs. They had run away.
Mhm.
That wasn't a call that they answered to.
Wow.
And so we look at burglaries, alarms going off. And people say, well, a homicide takes precedent. Yes, but there's also a LOU that there's certain calls the Flint Police Department does not answer to. They want you to file a report over the phone. So then people with the other issue, when you're collecting data, because it's data driven, you call the police department, no one answers. You call at 237-6800. So when you have a plan, which we should have a public safety plan, that should be, let's address the areas that we're not competent in. And we have to say that. Because it's not that people don't know. I have taken people who are giving up. Hey, this is such and such. They committed this homicide.
Mhm.
Just like the shooting, I'm going to call and say, guy Robert on Norbert Street. Robert has been a problem on Norbert Street. He has had, remember I went to the red light house
Mhm.
and they were like, Tonya, what are you doing at the red light house? Because it's prostitution.
Mhm.
This person felt so emboldened for a couple of years, past 2 years, that they were prostituting out the house. The person that was turning the tricks would turn the tricks on the street. And the neighbors have had to deal with it. I have emailed, I have talked to people. This is a known person. The neighbors have said something.
Mhm.
So when they do their part, I do my part, then it falls on the police department part. What are they doing? Well, Robert got shot this past weekend.
Mm.
And not only did Robert get shot, the senior across the street, she said, I hesitated, Tonya, because I had 2 bullets go through my home. One was at my desk where I sit at my desk. She said, this is too close. And this is a senior, she's retired.
Mhm.
Bullets coming through your home.
That's ridiculous.
Right. And then she wasn't the target. He is across the street. So when we talk about the public is doing their part,
Mhm.
where is they playing?
And I've heard, this isn't the first time I've heard that. I've also heard Councilman Mays talk about a stack of complaints. And his thing is some people are in that stack 3, 4, 5, 10 times because people are calling and saying, this is who's doing this. But if no one is picking it up, and you talk about homicides taking priority, homicides should take priority. However, sometimes we can prevent those homicides by getting to them before they become homicides. You know what I mean? Like these people, they got these beefs and somebody's calling, and let's get the homicides addressed beforehand.
Well, have it, and I agree. But when we look at how do we decrease crime, you one have to have a plan. 2, people they can't retain people. I'm hearing there's another 5 officers that are leaving to go to the University of Michigan. So then we look at leadership matters. How and why does leadership matter? That's the fun thing, y'all. But leadership matters because you can't retain. Flint has lost so much talent. We talk about how much talent has been lost in key department heads. How do you run a city if you don't have good people or talent working for you?
Right.
And that is a problem.
Right.
That is a problem. And people they're in despair with the shootings. You have people who are saying, well, what are they doing? Certain crimes affect certain type of people. And the fentanyl is another issue. If you go on your phone now and you look and see, you got male unconscious, unresponsive. You go to Keeping Communities First. The first issue, 2700 block of Franklin, requesting unresponsive male. These are generally fentanyl.
Mhm.
700 block of Parkway, a heroin overdose. We look at River Root Drive. We look at all of these postings where people
I'm
overdose.
looking at them too.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's common. So addressing the needs of our community, we gotta quit letting people come in and telling us, if someone is doing for 3 years you're in office and you only decide to start implementing plans or implementing key things that are going to help the community in the last 3 months, that's a failed administration.
Right.
You
right.
cannot let and should not be letting your entire city for 3 years and then you say, well, I can use the pandemic. The pandemic is not an excuse, no excuse for not having the service lines replaced, because police officers still had to work.
The police officers still have to work. And let me just say, and I'm trying to find it, the NRDC, right?
Mm-hmm.
They blasted Flint for
them 12 service line. 12.
Yeah, and
That was done.
and they said that Flint residents are being failed by leadership. Their words,
That was
right?
Which is a tell people who the NRDC is, because that's a federal agency.
That's the federal agency. And I'm going to tell you exactly, because I'm going to mangle it. So I'm going to tell you exactly what the acronym is.
And Flint was failed. Now, the company that was slandered, who was ahead of pipeline replacement, W.T. Stevens, is now completing the work because no one else was able to do it.
So the Natural Resources Defense Council. So this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we fail, and it's quite possible that we're going to have to, it's very, very possible that we're going to have to pay that money back because we failed. Now, here's what I want everybody to understand. People who say, oh, but COVID. COVID was a global pandemic. The NRDC knew about COVID. So if there was if they thought for 1 second that it was COVID, it was the fault of COVID,
they would have said it.
They would have said it. They would have extended things. They would not have blasted Flint. Flint's current leadership failed us. They failed us big time. And it's so funny because everybody outside of Flint sees what's happening.
Well, who got their pipes replaced and ours still aren't done? Jackson, Mississippi's are completed. Benton Harbor is completed. And what they decided to do is he left WT. We still owe WT Stevens money, the city of Flint. That contract sat on that shelf. And as he stated, and I'm going to quote, they will never get money as long as he's the mayor. And he put the risk of, they supported Karen Weaver over him, that he didn't care about the resident city of Flint. That is a fact. That contract sat on that shelf with big brothers, big sisters, because he was mad at Rita Stanley, which is our former mayor Woodrow Stanley. And he let the Flint market, food market, and then also it was big brothers, big sisters. There were 4 of them that were there. Big brothers, big sisters, W.T. Stevens, the North Flint Food Reinvestment, and was that 4? But he made a point.
That was 3 big brothers, big sisters. W.T. Stevens, North Flint Food Reinvestment.
And there's one more.
So let me ask you a question.
And it didn't matter about the residents.
So he set programs.
He shelved it.
Public health things on the shelf, decided he wasn't going to help them because of who they supported.
That's great. Then he did interviews.
Talking about
he did interviews to slam W.T. Stevens and talked about the quality of their work and talked about he felt they were incompetent. And you can go to the video on there. Who out there doing them service line replacements? W.T. Stevens. And so we could have had W.T. Stevens completing those. They would have been done.
They would have been done.
They would have been done.
W.T. Stevens would have been able to do in 2019 what they're doing in 2022. We would be ahead of schedule.
Failed leadership has got us here. When we're talking about what's important, the people are supposed to always be important. The people and the residents weren't important. I had in my ward people with 21 parts per billion in their water. Someone had 32 parts per billion lead in their water. They have poisonous water in their home. And because you shelved a company and would not say, they're not going to get money. It's not, the people come first. I wouldn't care if they did pipeline replacement and it was Donald Trump company, and I'm not a Republican, but that company was qualified,
right?
And we know they qualified because they doing the work now.
Right. We don't care who supports who. We care about the public health of the people.
Public health. Put the residents first.
So Tonya, because your ward, isn't it in your ward that there's an issue happening now with the water? Or is it the former ward because they split the ward? My ward is well, that one is not right. But they still call me on Concord Street. The chlorine residuals in the water, and I ride. They're still running those from Mackin Road all the way down Winona Street down to just across Welch. They're running the fire hydrants, and people are like, oh well, no, that's not normal to run it right there. That's the end of the water distribution center, and so that water would sit. So there was bacteria in the water. They sent one letter to one person on Concord Street. That water went to everybody in that area. Right. That was poor leadership. I knocked them doors to tell because the public had a right to know. And Dr. Weaver, she knocked with me. She said, you can't do that. We knocked that together. Then some other activists, Woodson knocked it, Dr. Danielle Green knocked, because you got to let people know. You got to let people know. And the city told that lady, do not drink the water. Do not ingest the water. You didn't tell any of them other people. So the next door neighbors can ingest the water. Next door neighbor had Legionella. So she was at the hospital at Genesis because she had Legionella which is a bacterial infection. But to the other people, they didn't know. They didn't know. And so when we talk about transparency, you have to be give the information to the people and let them make the decisions. But people who think the water's safe and they, if there's no problem, her chlorine, she didn't have them. They were testing 0 at first, and the highest they got to was 2. I believe that what they wanted them to be at was at least 5 or higher. But then they say they want to have some in the test. They want to show you have some chlorine residuals. So they're continuously flushing those hydrants. So if you are in that area, back in Mackin, Ballinger, Welch, El Dorado, Wabash, you see them hydrants running. It's because that's the end of the water distribution line, and those chlorine residuals, because the water, Flint is a shrunken city. By the time it gets there, that water sits. But when we talk about an administration, we have not had one boil water advisory since Rob Benzick left. And that's some shenanigans, because there's no way with an infrastructure like ours that we didn't have one boil water. What that means is, to be very clear, and help me out on this, and to let me know if I'm wrong, to be very clear, there were times that we should have had boil water advisories, but we did not have them. So we were all ingesting water that we should not have been through our filters. And let me tell you, here's something. When I call Court Street lakefront property, because they repaired the infrastructure system and then put the road in. I had people calling me from other municipalities and said, because I think they had like 15 or 16 breaks, and they said there should have been boil water advisories. Not one was given in Court Street or by Mott College. Not one. So we look at that, give the information to the people. And they said, Tanya, was there a BAC test? I'm like, what's a BAC test? It's a bacteriological test that they take at the site. So that to me is something we have to pay attention to. Leadership should have a plan. I mean, we didn't, Dr. We didn't get to finish her plan. We still don't have the pipes, complete service lines. And she needs to finish what she started. And then fix some things that's broken, because it's difficult when you have an administration that splits everything. And she's addressing and lies. So somebody called me today and they called me by my nickname. I'm not, y'all could probably guess my nickname, but I ain't gonna say it. But anyway, they said, Jamaica, they said they were talking to some coworkers, and the coworkers said, do you know he was debating himself? He won't have a debate with her, but he went on his show and was trying to call out the issues. We want to debate. And the thing is, they were like, that's some tomfoolery. They
How do you
older people, so they
how do you debate yourself? Because he wanted a debate with her, and not ever influence history has a mayor not debated or give the residents that. That's another failure. It's a failure to not let the residents know where you stand against who you're running against. If you don't have nothing to hide, then you talk about
right. And he
state your position.
Refused to debate. And MLive posted the article, which we already knew. We had already talked about it. We did the press conference. He refused to debate her. He won't debate her. And the thing is, you won't debate her because you know that you done screwed up for the last 3 years, and you don't want her to call you out on it.
And the thing is, she's not responsible for his career. He's responsible for his own.
Mm-hmm.
And let the people hear what the topics are. What are they concerned about?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a right to know. If I want to, put them side by side,
mm-hmm.
and that to me should be something that they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, state your platform. Let her state hers. He wanted a debate. She gave him one. And she didn't have to. She was the mayor then.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just like we did a budget adoption hearing, his administration didn't have not one person show up for the budget adoption.
That's
our
crazy.
Clerk Inez Brown stated on the record she never does that she has never seen in history that no one from this Neely administration showed up to answer one question. You had 5 people on that council voted to adopt the budget with 0 amendments. 0. It's the same thing with these ARPA funds. We got an ARPA meeting time. These are his ARPA funds. This his spending fund is ARPA. He campaigning with. It's not for the people money, and you need to get out and vote because he ain't right. And the only way they can change that, get out there and vote. Mm-hmm. He don't care. It's his money.
He using the ARPA funds to campaign. He's using the media.
It's his
campaign.
Budget.
Every day, calling the press conference, talking about we could have played the grass.
People out here have serious issues.
Mm-hmm.
And, his issues are not lined up with the people. Now, you can dislike Councilman Mays if you want to, but that stack, when the people come and say, I need a roof, that is a Flint issue. That ain't got nothing to do with it. Well, they want this, they promising them this. They need to stop that mess. When you need a roof and you need windows, when you can't afford your water bill, when you can't afford groceries,
mm-hmm.
When you live with the same broken up sidewalk on the north side, but on the south side, they're replacing sidewalks. When we know that it's definitely not fair and equal treatment, these are things that are happening. We talk about Welch Boulevard is the raggediest road ever.
Ain't it?
You lose your front end and your back end and your front and rear axle.
And your passenger seat.
And might lose your passenger going up and down in the seat.
Right.
But when we talk about the needs of Black people are not met. They're not treated the same because they think we don't vote. Show up at these polls and vote. They think we don't vote, and we ain't got no. We got every reason to vote. If don't nobody else got a reason to vote, you better vote for the person who got the Black agenda. He does not have a Black agenda, a Flint agenda. It is his agenda. He don't have, and as he said, he want to be in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
He want. Now this is the Christian station, so I ain't gonna.
We on podcast.
Okay, because he told me he didn't give a damn about Flint. So this was in his office. He told me that. So when you talk about somebody who is, are you elected to do the job? Are you here just because this is a stepping stone? You got to look at that. But you can't tell me you care about the people when you letting the people live the way that they live.
Mm-hmm.
Not one boil water advisor. Crime is skyrocketing. You got an overdose probably happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
We understaffed at the police department, understaffed at the fire department. You got at least 20 key people in your administration who didn't jump board and said, I can't work with you and I won't work for you, who took their talent to another place. So when we talk about that, this is failed leadership. You got somebody who will not listen. And if you come at you, they try to drag you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that's just wrong. Do something to help the people.
Do something to help the people.
He running against somebody who, and it's hard. I made the mistake supporting him. 3 to 4 weeks in, I told everybody I got fired every day. And I want
You were trying to be for the people.
I'm for the people.
Mhm.
I'm for the people. He out here lying, telling people where I don't live. He done did an investigation on me with the taxpayer dollars, which is funny, you know. And me and Cindy, his wife, state rep, nearly had a talk. She said, "But Tonya, he didn't pay for it. Someone else paid for it. Your husband did it, and he messy, and he's wrong. And it's time for him to go.
He needs to go.
He needs to go.
He needs to go.
You know,
We
and
need
he
something.
didn't fire me. He couldn't fire me. He laid me off, which I didn't care. Every day I went in, I went prayed up, and I didn't give up on the residents of Flint because we deserve better. Not to be cliche, because it's the truth.
We deserve
We
better.
deserve
And
better.
which is why, and I know we are out of time. We actually a little over time, but that's why. But this is so important. And I'm so happy you came on today with me because those reasons and many more are why we need Karen Weaver for mayor of Flint. So any last words?
I'm gonna say this, yes, because one, she has a plan. And you have to be, we talk about a people's mayor, a caring mayor, a kind mayor, someone who's going to go out to say, these are the resources we need. Someone who's going to be transparent.
Mhm.
Someone who's saying, hey, I know we got crime. I know we got to fix the waters that should have been done when she was there. That we have real blight issues, and that we need some economic development. We need real dollars and real communities. I mean, businesses coming here and dealing with the opioid. She was ahead of the curve. She foreseen that this was going to trend up, not down, and to make sure that Flint was included. So vote for someone who's got the Flint agenda for the people, someone who's got the agenda for the Black agenda, for the single mom agenda. If you are a woman agenda, you know, she cares. She doesn't just take things and not say, I can't do nothing about it. If I can't get it, let me go to Washington to get it, because they owe Flint. We didn't cause this water crisis.
Right.
Flint was failed at every level. We're being failed right now. Vote Dr. Karen Weaver.
Oh, Dr. Karen Weaver, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. But in the meantime, keep sending us those emails and vote Dr. Karen Weaver for mayor.
Peace.